Well, straight to our continuing coverage of the tense situation that continues between India and Pakistan. India has demanded the immediate release of the Indian Air Force pilot in Pakistan custody. Remember, the pilot was captured by Pakistan following an aerial engagement between the two countries. Union Minister Rajyavardhan Rathore has confirmed the identity of the pilot last night as Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman in a tweet and has prayed for his safe return. A cabinet meeting was held at 6:30. Will be held at 6:30 p.m. today at the Prime Minister's residence to take stock of the internal and external security situation. There will also be a joint briefing at 5 p.m. by the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force chiefs. Pakistan has violated the ceasefire twice today along the line of control at the Krishna Ghati sector of Poonch district. First at about 6 a.m. for just a short while back again at 1 p.m. There was shelling with mortar fire and small arms fire from Pakistan. The Indian Army retaliated effectively and in a timely fashion.
जंगी हालात बने हुए जो भी है सब हमारा कारोबार बंद है कोई कारोबार हमारा नहीं है क्योंकि जंगी छावनी जहाज़ों की जो है वो छावनी लगी हुई है आर्मी की छावनी लगी हुई है खाने के लिए कोई चीज़ नहीं है दुकानें बंद बाजार बंद गाड़ी में जाने के लिए कोई आदमी सब घबराए हुए हैं बीवी बच्चे सब रो रहे हैं
हमारे जो स्कूल हैं वो भी बंद हैं बाजार हैं जो वो भी बंद हैं हमारे कोई मतलब हर किस्म की परेशानी हमें सहनी पड़ रही है
In fact, my colleague Fareed joins us right now live from Kashmir. Fareed, there have obviously been two violations of ceasefire. What is the mood among the citizens right now who live along the border? Obviously, a fair amount of nervousness there.
Well, Faye, one feels for these citizens, for these natives of border areas, people who are directly in the line of fire come in the radius of 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers, very close to the line of control. They are in a complete state of panic as you heard them. They say that everything is shut and there is a constant fear of conflict escalating and the tensions escalating and then translating into some kind of a full-blown war. That really is the sense as far as border areas are concerned. Now, already these people have been told to remain alert. Also, remain in a position where they can be very quickly evacuated from their homes. So if that's what's happening close to the borders, in the hinterland, deep inside, things are no different. People are tense. They are expecting that anything anything can happen any moment, considering the kind of build-up and tensions that are there. If you talk about the Kashmir Valley, we have seen this tension only escalate ever since that attack happened in Pulwama. There has been a steady build-up. Government orders, some of them very bizarre, have not really helped things as far as to calm down the nerves. There have been orders like rationing of almost everything, medical supplies, and kind of emergency orders that only come when you either in war or you're preparing for war. So that really has given a sense to the people that definitely there is some build-up and they may see some this big build-up may lead to war. So that's the sense on the ground. And obviously, if you talk of ceasefire violations, they have we've seen them in almost every sector of the line of control. Today, from the last 12 hours, there was a brief lull, but again, that silence was shattered by guns that opened in Krishna Ghati sector, first at 6 a.m. and then at 1 p.m. That's 1 hour away. Intermittent exchange of fire is on, and then you have jets hovering over the skies here in the Kashmir Valley, non-stop the movement of jets patrolling. And that's been a constant feature from the last 24 to 48 hours. So all these measures just adding to the sense of unease and tension of the common man. Then you also had the airport shut for some time. Some relief after yesterday that order was withdrawn and civilian flights were allowed. Though initially they had said that for 3 months the airport will remain closed. So all these things obviously are having its effect on the psyche of the common man here. They're stocking essentials, they're stocking supplies. They understand that the kind of tension that is there, it could escalate into something big, and then everyone will be in trouble. So all these things happening simultaneously, Faye, but a lot of tension, not only on the borders, but also deep inside in the hinterland. Faye?
We also have Fareed, stay with us. Santya Aishman also join us right now. So does Vinay Tiwari in the studio to just get a view from across the country. But before I go to the rest of them, Fareed, before any of this started, the valley was already grappling with a shortage of fuel and some other supplies. Does that continue? And has the nervousness in any way led to perhaps people stocking up?
Well, we want to fault the people for stocking up because the kind of atmosphere that was built up, and as I said, to add to that, some very strange and bizarre and reckless orders from the administration where people were told or the authorities or certain departments were told to do certain measures which normally are like a build-up to war measures, or even when you're in war, you take such steps like emptying your ration depots, giving it all to the people. Then you had rationing of the petrol. You had a order of medical supplies to various hospitals to be ready with medical supplies, and all the leaves were cancelled. So all these things, obviously, I mean, people will try to translate into something which is related to war or a build-up to war or some internal arrangements that are being made so that when you have a conflict, all the internal arrangements are at place. So one won't fault the common man, and you are absolutely right. There is an acute shortage of fuel, petroleum products, diesel and petrol is absolutely missing from petrol pumps. Government again is on denial mode. The national highway, which is a lifeline now, imagine right now if the highway gets shut permanently, or maybe it is attacked, or there is some kind of a plan to just shut the highway, where would we get the supplies? You need huge supplies, not only for the common man but also for defense. So this is a aspect that has been completely neglected by successive governments, and not only state but even central governments have not thought of this kind of situation really happening, which could have happened any time. And now you have a highway which in fact a complete population defense which is completely dependent on a highway which is past its expiry, and it can get shut for even days, months altogether if one big mountain comes down, which no one would be surprised if it happens. So these are the things that no one realized, no one really took steps in time, no one has a contingency plan as far as the government is concerned. They just slept over it, and now as we have reached that point where we are staring at a crisis as far as fuel is concerned, the government has absolutely no answers other than being in a complete denial mode, trying to project a hunky-dory picture. But as we have been showing, the ground realities are shocking. People are in chaos, and whatever little supply that came Kashmir's way in the last few days, people have just swarmed on these petrol pumps and taken whatever. But obviously, as I said, no one will fault them because that's the kind of perception that has been around, and the authorities have absolutely done nothing to change that perception or do something about it.
Let me cut across to Aishman, who joins us out of Delhi. Aishman, obviously there have been a series of meetings being held by the government. We understand that the meetings are likely to continue into the evening, as well as one that will be chaired by the Prime Minister himself at the Prime Minister's residence. Tell us what's going on in the corridors of power right now. What have you picked up in terms of the meetings that are being held, and will there be press conferences that will be addressed today as well?
Well, right now, Faye, I'm outside the North Block where there was a meeting chaired by Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh. It was attended by the BSF chief as well as the RAW chief and IB chief. It was also attended by the Home Secretary, in which he was apprised of the situation in the internal part of the country. At the same time, he was also being apprised of what is happening at the borders. So he gave a clear instruction to the BSF that if there is a shelling from the other side, you should not stop. This is what we get to know from the sources. At the same time, it was also said that Union MOS for PMO Jiten Singh along with Union Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will be going to Jammu tomorrow to inaugurate a bridge of Indian Army. It is along with a place which is very near to the international borders. On the other side, in the South Block, there was a meeting by the Union Defence Minister along with the 3 services chief. What we are getting to know that NSA Ajit Doval also had a meeting with RAW chief, IB chief, and also the Home Secretary. There is a still meeting going on inside the Home Ministry. There is a briefing by the all the three services chief at 5 in the South Block, and post that there will be a CCS meet headed by the Prime Minister at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg. So all this is happening at the same time. It's been said from the sources that India is pursuing so that Pakistan should give the pilot which is there, and it is alleging, it has been said that Pakistan has not followed the Geneva Convention. They have posted videos of the pilot. He was brutally tortured. This is what has been declaimed, and this is what is being told to us that the government is pursuing as to how we can bring back Wing Commander Abhinandan. Faye.
All right, Aishman, my colleague Sandhya also standing by in Mumbai. Maharashtra is on high alert, as Sandhya has been telling us for the last 24 hours. Sandhya, has there been, have you received any updates right now from the Maharashtra police or the Mumbai police on what the situation is?
Faye, Maharashtra is on high alert. It was declared yesterday itself, and the situation is same. In fact, right now we are standing outside the Vidhan Bhavan, and you can see that how exactly the entire area is absolutely cordoned off. It's the security is beefed up, not just in the city but all across the state. Now, one important thing, Faye, that how the budget session of Maharashtra legislature, it was about to end on 2nd of March, but yesterday CM Devendra Fadnavis had a meeting with the then DG Datta Padsalgikar and other officers of Maharashtra police, and in fact the leader of oppositions were also there, and they all came to a conclusion that how the session which was supposed to end on March of 2nd will be ended today, so that the force which is used during the sessions can be used to protect the city, because when the session goes on for the movement of the ministers and for the different protest march which take place, for that special force is used. Now, despite the fact Vidhan Bhavan is going to be one area which is going to be under heavy surveillance, because that is something which the meeting also mentioned yesterday, that how it can be an easy target. That's why cops will be deployed here 24 hours and it's going to be more than usual. Apart from that, Faye, as far as Maharashtra police is concerned, they have identified their major focus areas, which first, of course, is going to be the coastal line. As in the past also, Maharashtra's coastal line, specifically Mumbai's, was violated. Apart from that, railway is going to be another focus area with the because in the past as well, terrorists have attacked railway stations. They attacked CST at the time of 26/11. Apart from that, other areas, specifically if we talk about Mumbai, South Mumbai is something which is absolutely under heavy surveillance. Air India building and other places which were also a target during the time of 1993 blast. Everything is under surveillance, and here is the bandobast which you can see. Every single corner of Mumbai since yesterday is under heavy police bandobast. And apart from Mumbai, Faye, Pune is that other city which is under heavy surveillance as far as Maharashtra police is concerned. In fact, there are change in ranks as well in Mumbai, but that has not impacted any situation on the ground. One thing on which the cops are focusing, Faye, that how they are doing it without creating any panic in the public. In fact, today, because today was the last day of the session, there were mochas, there were protests which happened at the Churchgate station as well, and they were trying to come towards Vidhan Bhavan as well. But police was there to take care of the situation. The usual business of the city and the state is not interrupted. That's what claimed by the Maharashtra police. And they have also assured the people that they are there on their toes to protect the city and the state. And they have also, Faye, made an appeal to the citizens to stay alert and to report if they find anything unusual or suspicious around them. Faye.
Right, Sandhya. In fact, Meenakshi joins us as well from Delhi. We've had the international community respond to the rising tensions between India and Pakistan over the last 24 hours, the latest of which was US President Donald Trump, who brought up the prevailing situation and hoped it would de-escalate soon. Meenakshi, obviously, we've got now reactions coming in from across the world, and these reactions are extremely important to the Indian government at this point.
Well, that's right, Faye. You know, the stock taking that will happen by the high-powered committee today in the evening prior to the commencement of the cabinet meet will also likely dwell on these reactions that are coming in. Last evening, we heard from Theresa May. We heard from the secretary to the Russian president. We have heard from France. But most significant statement coming from the United States President Donald Trump just a short while back, that presser in Hanoi that he was addressing, he acknowledged the fact as to how this particular dispute between India-Pakistan is something that has been going on for decades, but very, very importantly highlighting as to how the United States has been involved in trying to diffuse the situation between India-Pakistan. And he said that there is a reasonably attractive proposition that both the countries will now perhaps de-escalate. So that's the important message coming out from United States. The US authorities have been in touch with the Indian government to try and diffuse the situation here. At the same time, they have been putting all pressure on Pakistan to desist from offering its territory as a hotbed for terrorist activities. But at the same time, all countries now putting their respective influences on India-Pakistan to diffuse the situation and de-escalate. So that's a very, very significant message coming in from United States President Donald Trump, where US President's views have also found resonance with United Kingdom, Russia, Maldives, which is our neighbor, and everybody understands that if this situation is allowed to escalate, then not just repercussions for India-Pakistan, but it can go on to have repercussions for the entire region. So that's something hugely significant, the international implication of it.
There has been a move,
Meenakshi, on security.
A proposal to yes, there has been a move or a proposal to declare Masood Azhar as an international terrorist by the UN Security Council. Could you take us through the various international parties who are supporting that proposal at this point?
Well, yes, indeed, Faith. This is a proposal which has been considered afresh by three countries, United Kingdom, United States and France. And they are looking to put this proposal up for consideration at the United Nations Security Council now, which will consider it in the next 10 working days. So again, this is hugely critical that these three permanent members of the United States Security Council are again moving this proposal afresh to have Masood Azhar be declared a global terrorist. This, if it is passed, will ensure that not just is he categorized as a global terrorist, all his assets would also be frozen if it gains muster at the United States Security Council. But again, the hardship that India is likely to encounter is supposed to come from China. Therefore, internationally speaking, as far as international relations of India go, it is important that India has all the prominent nations on its side. While everybody endorses counter-terrorism initiatives of the government of India, the world leaders at this point in time are rooting for a diffusing of tensions between the two countries on the border.
Thank you, Meenakshi, for that update. In fact, for our viewers, we'll just play out that soundbite. The US State Department also called India and Pakistan to cease all cross-border military activity. But this is what Donald Trump said earlier today.
I think reasonably attractive news from Pakistan and India. They've been going at it, and we've been involved in trying to have them stop. And we have some reasonably decent news. I think hopefully that's going to be coming to an end. It's been going on for a long time, decades and decades. There's a lot of dislike, unfortunately. So we've been in the middle trying to help them both out, see if we can get some organization and some peace. And I think probably that's going to be happening.
In the meantime, the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, interacted with BJP workers today through a video conference. He pointed out the global community is backing India and that India will continue to work as one.
India will live as one. India will work as one. India will grow as one. India will fight as one. India will win as one.
Well, the airspace operations across North India have normalized after a temporary suspension of a few hours on Wednesday. Flights operating as per regular schedule to Amritsar, Jammu, Srinagar, Chandigarh and Leh. However, border states of northwest India and the cities of Mumbai and Delhi continue to be on high alert. Security has been tightened at metro stations in Delhi and Mumbai as well. Well, I want to bring into conversation right now Vinay Tiwari, our consulting editor. Vinay, a very interesting comment there by Donald Trump. He said, we're in the middle to help them out and to help them find a solution. Does that mean the US is now officially mediating between the two countries?
Well, I'm sure. I mean, look, with Trump, you've got to be a little more careful about interpreting what he says, because he has a tendency of saying things which frankly sometimes shouldn't be said or not said in the manner that he says it. I mean, for instance, it's very difficult to believe what does attractive news coming from the region means.
Yes.
It's a very unusual thing for a head of the
very
state
unusual choice of words.
Unusual choice of words. So I don't know what that attractive thing is. But yes, see, every time Pakistan and India have had an escalation intention, the US has always played a backroom role. Always. It's happened when Parliament attack happened, they intervened. When the Indian forces moved very close to the border, Clinton was very actively, in fact, working the phones to ensure that it doesn't escalate. And the same thing happened during Kargil. So it's absolutely likely that the US is already doing that through its Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, and even the embassy officials here, to try and ensure that this doesn't go into a full-scale war. Also because the US is mindful of two things. One, both are nuclear powers, and two, Pakistan is a very unreliable, unpredictable nuclear power. So that makes it just more difficult. So there's no doubt that they would be doing it. And that is perhaps also a cue for the rest of the Western countries, the European countries, who also kind of tend to do the same thing. They kind of do work in tandem on that issue. So there's no doubt that the US would be doing it already.
From all of the information we've received so far, since the last conversation we had last night, the question largely was, and Mr. Prabhu Dayal joins us as well. Mr. Dayal, good afternoon and thank you for joining us. The question was, will India de-escalate or choose to de-escalate at this point? If you look at the evidence, does it suggest that we're de-escalating, or are we just holding our cards right now?
The evidence so far is that India is doing a wait and watch. It's very obviously that they're waiting and watching. They have made a very strong statement yesterday after the Pakistani attempt at targeting a military target. That statement has invited certain kinds of responses from the world community as well. If you remember the first statement, which was made after the Balkot attack, the international community was unequivocally in support of India and its right to take an action against a terrorist camp. But after yesterday's attempts by Pakistan, these statements have moved to saying calm it down. And that is a little bit of a shift in that sense, because no world country in the world actually wants two very large countries in this region to go to war. So clearly the Indian government is playing a wait and watch. I think some bit of the wait and watch has also been hastened by the capture of our Indian pilot. There's no question that that is one of the top priorities now, not perhaps the top, but certainly the top, one of the top priorities for the government to get him back safely. And that's perhaps the reason they would do it. I think right now the ball is also in Pakistan's court to some extent, where if they try another adventurism like this,
then they would be escalating.
Then they would be escalating things further.
In fact, I'm just going to bring in some news right now. NSA Ajit Doval has chaired a high-level meeting which was attended by Home Secretary Rajiv Gauba, IB Chief Rajiv Jain, and RAW Chief at the PMO. So that is, that is a high-level security meeting, and one can expect these to happen more often at this point.
Yes, and this is again part of expected procedure that is followed every time an internal security issue is there, and now with an external threat as well, it just becomes more important. And I think the good thing is that in the last 4 or 5 years or so, the coordination, the interagency coordination has improved. There has been a lot more cooperation between various intelligence agencies. I mean, during 2611, for instance, there was a very incoherent sharing of information between various intelligence forces. And
that is actually something that Ajit Doval has been credited 100%.
With. You have to give that credit, that they have certainly improved that dramatically. I mean, and in fact, intelligence as a concept works only when it is shared, and it is shared fully. It doesn't work if the RAW is aware of something and they don't share it with the IB, the effectiveness of information goes down. So this credit taking...
Yes, Home Secretary, the IB Chief and the RAW Chief. So this is largely internal, it's internal security. So right now the concern is
internal security linked with external, because RAW of course operates in external areas as well. So it's interlinked in many ways, and that's, I think that's the good thing, that there is a cohesion in terms of sharing of information.
In fact, Ayushman is with us right now on this information that's just come in. Ayushman, a meeting that was shared right now, what are you picking up in Delhi?
Well, right now that after the meeting that was chaired by Home Minister Rajnath Singh, the Internal Securities Chief went on to meet Ajit Doval, the PMO. It is being said that they briefed Ajit Doval on the security aspect of the country. At the same time, the border aspect also. At the same time, we are being told that Ajit Doval would be there in the CCS meet, where he would be telling what information he has got from the on the internal security front, and that this meeting was important because it comes just ahead of the CCS meeting.
All right, Ayushman, thank you for that update. Ayushman bringing us updates of what's happening in the corridors of power in Delhi. Prabhu Dayal as well joining us at this point. Mr. Dayal, good afternoon. Obviously, homeland security or internal security is also top priority right now for the government. Mr. Dayal, can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Certainly, internal security is top priority for government, as also the need to tackle the situation with Pakistan appropriately. It should not appear that we are unbending, that we are too rigid, but at the same time, it should not be sent out as a signal that we are flinching or that we have caved in to Pakistani terrorism. My co-panelist Vinay was absolutely right in saying that the focus as far as the outside countries are concerned seems to have changed a little bit, because till yesterday it was on this in question of pressurizing Pakistan to clamp down on the activities of terrorist outfits like jaish-e-mohammed. But after yesterday morning's dogfight, where an Indian MiG-21 was downed, and when our fighter pilot was taken captive by Pakistan, the emphasis seems to be now on de-escalation, to bring down the levels of tension. And I think that it is appropriate that the United States, United Kingdom and France are tabling a resolution in the UN Security Council to bring the Pakistani authorities to crack down on Masood Azhar. But at the same time, the international community is aware of the heightened tensions in the subcontinent, and they are aware also of the fact that any escalation would increase the possibility of further escalation. You know, the escalation ladder is one that is very easy to climb, but it is very difficult to de-escalate. So most countries who are well-wishers of India want a de-escalation of the situation. At the same time, they want that there should be a crackdown by Pakistan on terrorism. Now, that is what suits us. We don't want tensions with Pakistan. We don't want a war with Pakistan. We only want a crackdown and a clampdown on the terror outfits. And that's what we have been asking for. When Pakistan was not doing that, we had to take recourse to hitting at the Jaish camp ourselves. But we did not want to escalate it into a military conflict, which is the direction which Pakistan now seems to be pushing things to. I hope that there can be sanity, which we witness across the border in Pakistan, and that the tension is brought down, because we have repeatedly made clear through our government statements that we do not wish to engage in a military conflict with Pakistan, but we only want that there should be a clampdown on the terror outfits.
And Mr. Dayal, you heard as well Donald Trump's statement from earlier this morning. What is your reaction to that statement? I am sure you heard Vinay also say that we perhaps shouldn't examine Donald Trump's choice of words as carefully as we would previous United States presidents. But what are you reading into the statement that he made today?
You know, Donald Trump is famous for his inappropriate choice of words. He uses words in a rather offhand manner. So I don't think I would attach too much significance to the sort of verbiage, the sort of language which he used. But it is worth mentioning that he's following the situation closely and wishes that the tensions along our border with Pakistan come down. Donald Trump is a very important world leader. He is mired in controversy in his own country, but that does not detract from the fact that he heads the United States government, and the US is a very big player internationally. And from our point of view, it is important that he has been consistent in asking Pakistan to clamp down on terrorism. He has again and again singled out Pakistan as the country which is the biggest abettor of terrorism. He said that the US, for instance, gave billions of dollars in assistance to Pakistan, and in return, Pakistan gave only lies and deceit, pointing out to the sort of terror activities that were directed against the US forces in Afghanistan. So the United States is aware that the same machinery which directs terror at the US forces in Afghanistan is responsible for directing terror-related activities at India. And I think it's a good sign that he has chosen to use balanced language, because in this situation, it is important not to try to corner Pakistan or too much, but rather to get them to be reasonable. From our point of view, that's very important. We have a fighter pilot in Pakistan's custody. Elections are around the corner. The fact that he is held by Pakistan would become an issue on the political scene. Unfortunately, I think it's very important not to politicize matters, but life is very different from what it ought to be. It is not utopian. And the political parties will engage in a slanging match over how this operation was mishandled, and what was the need to go into a dogfight, and what was the need to go into hot pursuit, and so on and so forth. It is important that before all this happens, and Pakistan is found to be laughing at us, because it has the custody of our fighter pilot. I think it's very important that we on our part try and engage in a sensible dialogue, try to de-escalate, and don't let things get out of hand, because unfortunately, it is becoming a very emotive issue. Although the father of the fighter pilot has put out a very balanced statement. But, there is going to be politics over this matter inevitably, and a purely national issue will be dragged into a controversy unnecessarily. So we should view President Trump's statement in this context, that it is a signal to both countries to de-escalate, to be reasonable, and we on our part would be very happy if Pakistan is reasonable, because that is what we have always asked Pakistan to do. To crack down on terrorism is to be reasonable too. But all that will happen in the longer term. In the immediate context, I think it's important for us to get our fighter pilot back and to create a scenario where this becomes possible. Global pressure, domestic cohesion, the right signals to Pakistan, these should form a part of the narrative. And I agree with whatever my co-panelist, when I was saying a little while earlier on your show.
Absolutely. So the question really right now is, will Pakistan use the presence of the wing commander in their custody as a negotiation card against India? Do you expect that that will be something that they will use to perhaps get India to back down? Vinay?
Well, look, as we speak, there is actually an off-record briefing that is on in the Foreign Office with journalists. And one of the things that has just come out, in fact, the reporter has just put out, is that the Indian government is not going to seek any consular or diplomatic access, but asking for an immediate return. Now, what this means is significant. Consular access or diplomatic access is actually prescribed under the Vienna Convention, which really defines international relations or what is to be done if a foreign national is either detained or arrested by another country. So it defines the process. By saying that they don't want a consular or a diplomatic access, you're telling Pakistan that your act of holding somebody prisoner is illegal. You don't even recognize the fact. We don't want to recognize that he's a legitimate arrestee or a detainee. It's a completely a question of somebody who's been caught in combat. He's a prisoner of war and he must be under the Geneva Convention, returned to India forthwith. Now, my personal sense is that I think Pakistan would not, I mean, would be ill-advised if they choose to use the Air Force of pilot as a bait or as a collateral to negotiate with India, because that's a very dangerous and a slippery road to go through.
Let me just read out, in fact, the source that the piece of information that you were referring to, and this is the Ministry of External Affairs. Wing Commander Abhinandan has to be returned immediately. There is no question of a deal, no question of negotiation. If Pakistan is under the assumption that they have a card, we would like to disabuse. That's what her sources have said. India, it goes on to say, sources have stated that President Trump would have meant that he expects good news, not that there is good news coming in, and that he's referring to India's restraint, and we would appreciate his position. But fundamentally, if we go back to the Wing Commander, the Ministry of External Affairs is sending a very clear message that this is not a card that you can use in any way to negotiate with us.
Absolutely. And there is one other thing. While you were reading, there's another update that has come in, which is even more significant in many ways. They've used this term, I mean, in the briefing, where they're saying that Pakistan is trying to create a Kandahar-type pressure, but India will not give in. Now, this means that India is almost accusing Pakistan of trying to use the pilot as a hostage.
Yes.
And having an army officer who's been captured during combat as a hostage is a very serious thing. And obviously the Indian government has decided to take a very tough position on that. That you cannot, even if you're thinking of doing it, it's a very ill-advised move. And I think that's the right strategy, because it's really very ill-advised for Pakistan, because that will escalate things like nothing else will, because you're holding somebody hostage who's your uniformed forces personnel.
In fact, sources that, this is the information we were just giving you, sources have said that India has not asked for consular access for Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman, and the sources have said that the Indian government has demanded his immediate release. And in that last flash that just came in, the Ministry of External Affairs sources tell us that Pakistan is trying to create a Kandahar-type pressure, and India will not give in. There will be no deal or talks on the Wing Commander's release. Mr. Dayal, what is your reaction to the fact that India said they don't want consular access for the Wing Commander that's currently in their custody?
Well, I don't know whether we have asked for consular access or not. We have certainly asked for the immediate release of the Wing Commander. But I think there's no harm in asking for consular access, because it is important to know about his well-being. It may have been the case that the Pakistanis have subjected him to torture, or that they have not treated him too well, despite whatever they've tried to put out on television. So it's important to ascertain his welfare directly. Of course, if we ask for consular access, it doesn't mean that the Pakistanis will grant so immediately. My own experience has been that they drag their feet as long as they can. But there's no harm in putting pressure on them and saying that our Wing Commander is in your custody and we want to see him, we want to ascertain his welfare. It's our right to get consular access. But I don't know, there may be calculations within the framework of the External Affairs Ministry, which may be formulating different thinking. I'm not sure at all what the current thinking on this subject is, because I'm not part of the machinery. However, let me tell you that Vinay was absolutely right. All civilized countries would grant consular access. The problem is that Pakistan is not in the category of civilized countries. It's a rogue state. On numerous occasions in the past, including the case of Commander Yadav, Pakistan has denied consular access. It has not facilitated consular access. I remember that there were many prisoners of war from the 71 conflict, from the 71 war, who were in their custody. And Pakistan lied through its teeth in saying that there was nobody of that. If any name was given, they would say, no, we don't have so-and-so. While we would give them very tangible and cogent evidence to show that the person was in their custody. In this case, however, since they've already acknowledged that the Wing Commander is in their custody, and that they have even shown this fact on television, they can't afford to retract from the statement. They will hand over, but it is in our interest that the Wing Commander is handed over as quickly as possible. There could be domestic anxiety and tensions on this matter. Of course, ideally, we should be prepared to wait it out, but that is not something that happens. There is a sense of impatience which grows on this sort of issue. So the earlier we can have this matter ended, the better. Now, of course, this question of whether Pakistan will use the fact that they have captured the wing commander as a bargaining chip, well, Pakistan uses every trick in the book. They don't have many bargaining chips at hand. They are a weaker economy. Their economy is in fact in shambles. They are going around with a begging bowl. So it's not that they can bring to bear economic pressure on us. In fact, the reverse is true. Their military machine, despite all its posturing, is no comparison to ours. International support is much more for our position. It's only a few countries like China who support Pakistan. But by and large, the bulk of international opinion considers Pakistan as a terrorist state. And I think opinion is centering around the fact that terrorist outfits operating from Pakistan need to be brought to book. But in this situation, having our wing commander in their custody gives them a certain amount of bargaining power which they didn't have before that dogfight took place and before the wing commander was in their custody. So, to sum up, Pakistan has indicated that it is willing to talk, although, of course, it doesn't really want to acknowledge the presence of terrorist camps on its territory. It is always in a denial mode. Realistically, we should be prepared to talk to Pakistan, secure the release of the wing commander, and get them to talk about the terrorist-related activities emanating from their soil and get them to curb it. Otherwise, this menace will be forever. And I think international opinion is on our side in this bigger issue. And I think we should use the totality of the situation to tame Pakistan, while at the same time get back our prisoner who's in their custody. Because frankly speaking, the country is not at peace on this matter.
In news that's just coming in, there have been fresh ceasefire violations reported now in Nowshera sector of the LOC after Krishna Ghati. Now, brief silence has been shattered by fresh ceasefire violations in Kashmir. Vinay, is this expected at this point that there will be an exchange, of fire across the border?
It is expected, and I think it would. I mean, they will want to keep doing it. Remember, the so-called flexing of muscles will perhaps happen from both sides. The Indians also flew sorties virtually through the night over the our side of the border in Kashmir.
Actually, just to be able to clarify that for our viewers, again, there were some television channels that did report it last night, as if we have to let everyone know on every movement that our army is making. But this is, again, this doesn't mean we're in full-scale war. This means India is preparing for any eventuality.
Absolutely. I mean, that's aerial patrolling.
Yes.
You have every right to patrol your air, just as you patrol on the ground. Your fighter jets can patrol the air. And this is something that countries routinely should do, and especially in a situation where there is hostility, where another country has made an attempt to come inside your airspace. Yes. This is patrolling, and every right the Indian government has to carry out these sorties. And you're right, I think this minute-by-minute reportage of these movements should really should not be done at all. I mean, this has happened in the night, and this is a normal reaction of any air force which is under attack.
Absolutely. We will take a very quick break, and we will come back as we stay with the developing story of tension between India and Pakistan. And we'll bring you updates of everything that's happening across the country. Stay with us. Good afternoon, welcome back. You're watching Mirror Now, and we're staying with our continuous coverage on the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan. My colleague Arvind Singh is right now at the western sector of the international border with Pakistan. Arvind, obviously, there is a heightened sense of alertness there at the border in Rajasthan as well.
Yes, that's right. Army and BSF both are very alert at the western sector from where I am reporting, and from where I am standing, 125 kilometer west of me is Bahawalpur, and this is the very important sector because you know that the headquarter of Lashkar-e-Toiba is there, and even what our sources tells us that Hafiz Saeed is also lodged in Bahawalpur. But as far as the border and the western sector is concerned, you can clearly see behind me that there are structures which belongs to army, though they are not part of any immediate preparation of the army. But these structure shows that army and the security forces at the western sector are very well prepared for any exigencies. But the fact of the matter is that not only the morale of the forces at the western sector is high, but the courage in the local people. We have talked to many people here, and they clearly say that they are not going to go anywhere even if there is a need arises. So clearly the morale and the confidence of the local people are also high. What they are saying that they would remain there if any situation arises and would fight with the forces. But as far as the decision of anything which happen in the future is concerned, it is going to be taken in Delhi and Islamabad. But on the ground, they are very prepared for any exigency. They don't want war, but they says that this terror factory should end. They should be demolished, and whatever action India has taken after the Pulwama attack, they completely agree by the decision taken by the government. But they says that whatever decision political leadership of this country would take, the common people on the ground in this Thar desert would stand by their government.
Well, Arvind, many thanks for bringing us that update. My colleague Arvind there at the border in Rajasthan, bringing us an update on the readiness and the heightened alert that the border is at across the country. Well, staying with our continued coverage of that situation between India and Pakistan, India has demanded now the immediate release of the Indian Air Force pilot in Pakistan custody. Remember, the pilot was captured by Pakistan following an aerial engagement between the two countries. Union Minister Rajyavardhan Rathore last night confirmed the identity of the pilot as Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman in a tweet, and he prayed for his safe return. A cabinet meeting will be held at 6:30 p.m. this evening at the Prime Minister's residence to take stock of the internal and external security situation. There will also be a joint briefing at 5 p.m. by the Army, the Navy and the Air Force chiefs. Vinay, that joint briefing will be an important one.
Very significant.
And obviously the government has now put into place a structure where every evening they will release to the media the information that should be used, and that's important.
That's right. And they've also done an off-record briefing as well at the Foreign Office, which is still on, which is also a good thing because a lot of things perhaps can't be said on camera, but they're obviously given out. And this is routine practice in a situation of hostility. I just wanted to add one thing, Faye, because you were speaking to Arvind. And Arvind actually pointed it out very correctly. The place where he's standing, it's very close to Bahawalpur, is very critical. Just 3 days ago, the intelligence report says after India's after the Pulwama attack happened, Pakistan was to some extent, I guess, expecting a response. Masood Azhar was actually shifted to a hideout in Bahawalpur just 3 days ago, and the Indian intel has confirmed that there is this city called Kotgani, which is very close to the Bahawalpur main city, and the ISI shifted him there. So it's actually a very critical part of the terror factory that Pakistan operates. It's a big hotbed of their activity, and they have several safe houses.
You know, and this is something we cannot make more clear for our audience. The terrorists who are being bred, and there's no better word for that, bred in Pakistan, people like Masood Azhar, who are the sort of kingpins and the mastermind, are part of Pakistan's entire official structure. The fact that the ISI, which is part, technically, Pakistan Army, is moving him in and out of places, is helping him hide, is giving him hideouts, he is part of the tapestry of the Pakistan government, effectively, isn't
Absolutely, without a doubt. And not just that, they are protected by the ISI. I mean, the personal protection that they enjoy is ISI-led. In fact, even Dawood, for instance, Dawood's house in the Clifton. Clifton is an area in Karachi which is one of the poshest. On the beach, it's like the Nariman Point, Malabar Hill of Mumbai. And that area is, in local parlance, is called defense, because a lot of the retired generals in Pakistani army tend to have these large houses in the Clifton area of Karachi where they live. So this defense area is where Dawood has his flag. It's called the White House. It's a large white house which has a very high boundary wall, which is barbed wires, and it's protected by the ISI around the clock. In fact, a few times the Indian media, which earlier when visas were being given and Indian media has gone inside Pakistan, every time you would go to Clifton and try and open a camera, within a second an ISI man would arrive on a motorcycle and stop you from filming. So they are that vigilant about protecting their people.
Yes, and this is why India at this point is saying there's no deal, we're not negotiating. The fact that you have our pilot and our officer does not give you an upper hand.
Absolutely. And there is no talks, there is no negotiation, is the point. The point is you've taken somebody hostage, you've got to return it unconditionally. There is no condition that you can attach. Because there is obviously a possibility that Pakistan may use this as a bait to negotiate and try and put some pressure on the Indian government.
In fact, my colleague Alok and Neha is also standing by. Alok has information on the Sunjha Express. The Sunjha Express, which was supposed to leave from Lahore last night, didn't leave. Alok, can you take us through what happened, and if there are, passengers or citizens who are stranded because that train didn't leave the station as it was supposed to?
Well, exactly, the number of passengers have been declined in the Sunjha Express that boarded today, that yesterday at 11:10 p.m. When what the officials told us that there were around 40 passengers that reached at Atari border, but since the Sunjha Express that was coming from Pakistan's Lahore to Atari border, that was cancelled. So that's because in India, that India hasn't cancelled as of now, that they have not suspended the service of Sunjha Express. They are also that the railway department has waiting the intimation from the MEA. But what they say is when the passengers today in the morning at around 7 a.m. when they reached there, there was no train from the Pakistan side. Because there is the exchange of train happened at Atari border. There is a similar there is that Atari border is the main railway station where the exchange happened. So there was the passenger that who stranded. That later the bus was hired by the Pakistan authorities, and they were later taken to their destinations. So that is the main that is the problem with that Sunjha Express now from the MEA, from the government, that we are still waiting whether the suspension of the service will come or not. And apart from that, if we talk about the bus service that is also that originates from Delhi to Lahore, it has also declined. The number of passengers has been declined for over at least 2 weeks. And when we talk to the DTC officials, they also told us that the number has been declining since the Pulwama attack happened on 14th of February. So this is the situation. Today only just 3 passengers went to Pakistan when the bus originated from the DTC bus depot from here, and that is what that we also heard that from Pakistan also, that which the bus is coming, it also carries just 3 passengers. So number of passengers has been decreased. The reason is the reason is just unfortunate that just due to the problem between the two countries that has occurred after this attack and this strike. So that is all. Apart from that, the security has also been beefed up in the Delhi major installations. That if we talk about this place, this is Red Fort area. Red Fort also, that they have put up the barricade, double arrangement. So all these things that police is taking all precautionary measures so that no untoward incident happened in the national capital.
All right, Alok, many thanks for joining us with that update. Neha also standing by at Andheri station in Mumbai. Neha, what is the status of security at Andheri station or in the suburbs of Mumbai?
That's right, the security has been beefed up at almost all railway stations and the metro stations in Mumbai. Railway stations, have always remained the soft target. Whenever terrorist attacks have happened in the city, we've seen 7/11 bombings. We've also seen the 26/11 attacks happening at CST station. And which is why, since the high alert has been called in the state or in the city, we've always seen that this is a security, especially the Railway Protection Force and the Maharashtra Government Railway Police have always taken a step ahead to ensure that their forces are beefed up at the stations. Today in the morning, the Mumbai Metro Railway Corporation has issued a high alert, a red alert at the 12 metro stations of the city, claiming that their security needs to be increased. The frisking of passenger needs to become better. At least each passenger needs to be frisked twice so that the security of the stations is not put to threat. I'm standing right now at in front of Andheri metro station. Andheri as such remains a prime example of how at least 6 to 7 lakh commuters using the station on a daily basis. The metro station and the railway station converges here, and which is why at least 8 to 9 lakhs commuters use the station on a daily basis. Since morning, the security forces have told us that at least 3 checks have been conducted at the station. The trains have been checked for, and metros especially in the morning and evening peak hours, they will be checked for. The passengers have been told to remain calm and also alert back to the forces if at all any unidentified object has been found. So this is the situation as of now as far as suburban railway space and metro space is concerned.
All right, Neha, thank you for that update from suburban Mumbai. In breaking news that's just coming in, diplomats from several countries have reached the External Affairs Ministry in South Block. The Foreign Secretary has also reached South Block, so there's obviously a meeting that's going to take place over there. Aishman standing by at South Block. Aishman, do you have information on who's chairing this meeting and what the agenda may be?
Well, right now, nothing official on this meeting is. Right now, the FS went inside, and a few of the diplomats from the foreign countries have also come, and they have gone inside the External Affairs Ministry, and they are inside. It's been said that there will be a meeting in which they would be briefed up on the situation that is currently prevailing, and that is what we know as of now. The sources are saying that they will be giving the details only after they get something officials on this, because the External Affairs Minister is outside for the OIC meeting, and the Foreign Secretary has just reached External Affairs Ministry, and many of the diplomats have gone inside the External Affairs Ministry. There will be a meeting for sure, but only the details will be coming after a while.
Okay, Ashman, thank you for that update. Vinay, obviously a meeting of various diplomats from several other countries being chaired at the External Affairs Ministry. One assumes the Foreign Secretary will, Vijay Gokhale will chair that meeting. What is the significance of this?
I mean, obviously, this is a briefing of the envoys, because the envoys, in that sense, are the people who will brief their respective heads of state. So pretty much, they have called all of them for a joint briefing on what's the latest situation. I think they will also update them on the capture of the Indian pilot, the Indian condition for, the unconditional demand that India has made on the release of pilots. So obviously, you've got to keep them updated. And that's what is likely the reason why they've been called in one go, because it's an official briefing of what the Indian government has so far done in the last 24 hours and is now likely to move ahead, the direction especially. So this is what...
Yes. We also have Brigadier Mahajan joining us right now. Brigadier Hemant Mahajan, good afternoon to you and thank you for joining us. We did hear, of course, that the Indian Army had moved troops to the border overnight. In your mind, is this just precautionary and protocol? Because there were some news channels that picked it up last night. But do you believe that this is a high alert, or is this protocol? What is your interpretation of what's happening at the border now?
So it is like this, as far as the line of control is concerned, the Indian Army is deployed there for carrying out counter-infiltration operations, which basically means stopping the Pakistani terrorists from entering the Indian borders. The only thing is when you go in for a war-like situation, then of course your position changes, because for counter-infiltration operations, you're along the nalas, you're along the forest line, etc. Well, if you're fighting a war, in that case, you have to occupy pickets. So there's a slight difference, but the LOC is well defended, and Pakistan cannot think of doing any misadventure here. If they do, they'll get a bloody nose. As far as the international border is concerned, it is well known that it is guarded today by the Border Security Force. It starts somewhere down south from Jammu area onwards, and the state of Punjab, state of Rajasthan, state of Gujarat, you have the Border Security Force guarding the borders. Border Security Force, of course, has a fair amount of fighting potential that we cannot underestimate. But should an untoward adventure take place from Pakistan, obviously the responsibility of guarding the borders is that of the Indian Army. So therefore, the Indian Army has gone there, and if any conventional response.
We seem to have lost that connection with Brigadier Mahajan. We'll come back to him, Prabhu Dayal. Right now, of course, we are picking up information that the various foreign diplomats are in South Block for a meeting with the Foreign Secretary. And we also know that the MEA has said in no uncertain terms that we are not open to negotiation, that we will not, we will not allow Pakistan to use the officer in their custody as a bargaining chip, and we are not in any way going to entertain any conditions that they put down for his release. Your response to that, Prabhu Dayal?
Well, first of all, let me mention that it is very normal for diplomats to be called to the External Affairs Ministry for proper briefing. Because as is well known, whenever there is a conflict situation, the first casualty is truth. And particularly when there is a country like Pakistan involved, which instead of having a Ministry of Information, actually runs a Ministry of Disinformation or Misinformation. So it's very, very important to let the others who are watching the situation, other countries who are interested in sort of resolving matters, who are friends of India, it is important to let them know what the truth is. So this briefing is extremely useful because there is a lot of falsehood that is put out by the other side. Now, my friend Vinay, the co-panelist, mentioned about Dawood Ibrahim being housed in Clifton. Let me just mention an aside that in better times, Clifton is where the residence of the Indian Consul General in Karachi is situated. And I had on many occasions, when the Indian cricket team visited and a reception was hosted in their honor, and the Pakistani team would also attended, I had met Imran Khan in Clifton, within the premises of the Indian Consul General's residence. And those were better times. Of course, one hopes that the sort of language which he sometimes has used, that he wants a normalized relationship, he means well, etc., is actually implemented. Because what I'm finding is that there is a lot of doublespeak. What Imran Khan is saying doesn't quite match up to the sort of activities which we witnessed from Pakistan, because the narrative is being run and controlled by the Pakistan army. Now, if Pakistan meant well, why would it allow a terror outfit like the jaish-e-mohammed to carry out the Pulwama attack? Why is it so protective towards jaish-e-mohammed, or particularly Maulana Masood Azhar? Clearly, this is because it regards Masood Azhar as a valuable asset. Now, we have had this struggle to get Masood Azhar banned by the United Nations. The United Nations has put the jaish-e-mohammed on the banned list, but Masood Azhar is not quite placed in such a list. China has prevented any activity banning Masood Azhar. Why is that so? Because Masood Azhar is also an asset for China. It is well known that Masood Azhar is the go-to man for China. First of all, it is helping China protect its assets, its installations, its investments within Pakistan from others who want to attack it. So he is the sort of gunda whom they have hired to protect their assets. Secondly, they're also using him to sort of act against the Islamic radicals who are active in China itself. You know, he is helping China in every manner possible, and in turn, China is being very protective towards him. So as far as this larger question of taking action against Masood Azhar is concerned, we have to take stock of the fact that China will be very negative, very unhelpful. The other countries have to pile on pressure because other countries have also suffered at Masood Azhar's hands. You may recall that the very famous American journalist Daniel Pearl had been killed by Masood Azhar's people. And of course, India has been the biggest sufferer. So we have a big stake in getting terror outfits like the jaish-e-mohammed. Of course, the jaish-e-mohammed has been banned on paper since 2002, but in real terms, it has only changed names. It has become a sort of charity organization and carried out its activities unhindered by the Pakistani authorities. Now, what do we do as far as the current situation is concerned? Of course, the Ministry of External Affairs is very right. The government of India is very right in saying that we are not going to bend, we will not let Pakistan blackmail us, and we will not allow it to use the fighter pilot who's in its custody as a bargaining lever. India has never wanted escalation. It is Pakistan who has always threatened escalation. We've always said that we will act against the terror outfits operating from Pakistan. But Pakistan has said, if you do so, we will escalate the conflict. Now, at the moment, we are at the lowest level of the escalation ladder. There are two options. Either we de-escalate or we escalate. In any case, the weight of international opinion will have to be brought to bear on Pakistan. That is happening. The United States, the United Kingdom, France, and other responsible countries are trying their best to influence Pakistani thinking and make it more responsible. Because nobody wants an escalation of conflict. We have never wanted that. It is only the Pakistanis, as I said earlier, who have been threatening that sort of thing. Of course, their bark is worse than their bite. But at the same time, they have very mischievous propensities. They have mischievous non-state actors who are aided, abetted, trained, financed, funded by the Pakistan Army and its intelligence wing, the ISI. And we must realize that all of them have in one way or the other tried to tell us that we will bleed India by 1,000 cuts and so on and so forth. Their language is very offensive. They are rogue organizations. Pakistan is an irrational state. But how to deal with such an irrational state is something that we have to figure out. And in this, we are getting the cooperation of the international community. And the fact that diplomats are properly reporting to their governments is very important, because the narrative which is being put out from Pakistan is based on disinformation.
That's right. In fact, we're going to have to take a very quick break and come back with more news and analysis of the situation between India and Pakistan and what's happening at our border at this time, what's happening in Delhi, in the corridors of power. That's on the other side. Don't go anywhere.